Hi everybody and welcome to my channel. In this episode I'm going to talk about Scotland's longest serving prisoner, who is Robert Mone. The Robert Mone, or Mone how you might pronounce it, has been in prison for some 54 years. So just before I get into it, I would just like to say a massive thanks to all my subscribers for your continuing support. But 80% of my viewers are still not subscribed to my channel. So if you aren't one of those, could you please go down and subscribe to help me channel grow so I can get bigger podcast guests on in the future. Francis Mone, born in 1948, is a Scottish double murderer who was sentenced to life imprisonment in 1977. In 1967, he shot a teacher at his old school, and in 1976, he and another man escaped from the state hospital Carstairs, killing 3 people in the process. He is Scotland's longest serving prisoner. Mone was born in Dundee and grew up with his parents and 2 sisters. He was bullied by his father and claims to have been raped by a family friend when he was 12. He became depressed when his grandfather died and lived with his grandmother for a while. In 1964, he was expelled from St John's High School. He then joined the Gordon Highlanders and served in the British Army of the Rhine in Germany. On the 1st of November 1967, Mone, who was absent without leave from his army unit and had been drinking for days, entered a girls' needlework class at St John's wearing his uniform and armed with a shotgun. He held 14 and 15-year-old pupils and their pregnant teacher, Nanette Hansen, captive for 90 minutes. He requested that an acquaintance, 18-year-old nurse Marion Young, be brought to the school. During the standoff, Mone raped one girl, sexually assaulted another, and shot at both women, but the gun misfired. Police brought Mone's grandmother, who unsuccessfully asked him to stop. In 2017, a retired police officer claimed that a police sniper had Mone in his sights, but was denied permission to shoot. Marion and Nanette persuaded Mone to release the girls, but before giving himself up, he shot Nanette in the back. She later died in hospital. On the 23rd of January 1968, Mone was found to be insane and sent to the state hospital in Carstairs. Marion Young was awarded the George Medal, and Nanette Hansen was awarded the Albert Medal. Mone's motive is assumed to be revenge for his expulsion from the school. In his trial, he was declared severely schizophrenic. There was only one place he could be sent, and that was a state hospital Carstairs, nicknamed Colditz. Thomas McCulloch was enjoying a drink and a sandwich at the Erskine Bridge Hotel, Renfrewshire, in 1970 when he became angry he hadn't been given enough butter for his bread roll. He shot the chef in the face and the manageress in the shoulder. His victims lived, but McCulloch was declared murderous and insane and was sent to the state hospital. Rumoured to be lovers, Mone and McCulloch plotted and planned their escape for more than 6 months. McCulloch was the brains behind the operation. For a long time he was looked upon as a near-perfect patient. He showed no violent tendencies, he worked hard in the paint shop and staff liked him. It was all a massive con. McCulloch was playing the long game while he connived with Mone to get out of the hospital. The pair had managed to stash axes, knives, fake IDs, uniforms, nurses' hats and garrets, and on the November the 30th, 1976, they decided it was time to go. They pounced first on nursing officer Neil McClellan and patient Ian Simpson after he tried to stop them hurting the nurse. Paint stripper was thrown in their faces in the hope it would disable them, and Neil and Ian fought for their lives even as they were laying hacked to death. McCulloch repeatedly attacked Neil long after his victim was immobilised, while Ian was speared with a pitchfork by Mone. Desperate for a trophy, McCulloch sliced off Ian's ears and put them in his pocket. The duo had spent months making a rope ladder, and within minutes they had scaled the razor wire high wall that surrounded the hospital. Once free, Mone lay down on the road pretending to be hurt so they could flag down the first car that passed. They planned to kill the driver and take the car. As the driver got out to help, a passing police car stopped and pulled in. As soon as they stepped from their vehicle, PC John Gillies and PC George Taylor were attacked with axes and cleavers. McCulloch sped off in the police car while PC Taylor lay dead and PC Gillies was left in a critical condition. It was a typical wintry icy night at Lanarkshire, and McCulloch, who hadn't driven for years, crashed the car. The van slowed down to help with the accident, and McCulloch decided he would pretend to be a police officer transporting a prisoner. The van occupants got out to help, but one was hit on the head and the other stabbed several times and thrown in the back of their own van. Unknown to Mone and McCulloch, the staff in Carstairs still didn't know at this point they had escaped, and two men lay dead inside the hospital. Thinking he saw a police roadblock ahead, McCulloch drove into a muddy field near Biggar, but it got bogged down, so they abandoned the vehicle and made their way to a farmhouse where they terrorised the family inside and stole their car. At last the alarm was raised and police officers in both Scotland and England were on high alert. After 3 hours of bloody carnage, Mone and McCulloch were eventually captured when a police car rammed theirs on the A74 north of Carlisle. The two men were ordered to be imprisoned for the rest of their lives, but this order wouldn't last. In May 2013, 65-year-old Thomas McCulloch was freed from prison after having secured his release through fixed-term punishments set down by the European human rights laws. McCulloch had used the legislation to have his sentence fixed at 30 years in 2002, meaning he could apply for parole. Today, the 72-year-old fiend lives in Dundee with his girlfriend Susan. But Mone, 75, is still in prison and is one of Scotland's longest-serving prisoners. In May 1981, Mone mounted a rooftop protest at his conditions in HMP Perth. Mone's father, Robert Christopher Sonny Mone, murdered his aunt and two other women in Dundee after his son's conviction. In 1983, 3.5 years into his life sentence, Mone Sr. was stabbed to death in Craiginches prison by a fellow inmate. Mone Jr. had 6 months added to his sentence in 1995 for assaulting a fellow prisoner. In 2002, his sentence was reduced to 25 years under the provisions of the European Convention on Human Rights. In 2007, when he was allowed out on day release, survivors of the 1967 incident and politicians Jim McGovern and David McLetchie argued that Mone should never be released, with McLetchie saying that the European Courts of Human Rights had crippled the justice system. He was sent back to high security in Glenorchy prison in 2008 following fears that he was planning another escape. Robert Mone, now 72, is still in prison and is one of Scotland's longest serving prisoners. I'll leave that one there for now, people. Hopefully you're enjoying the content. Remember to like and subscribe. Enjoy the rest of your day.